Hi, everyone. Welcome to Elemental Flows. My name is Christina, and thank you for joining me in today's practice. Today, I have another shorter flow prepared for you, and this one focuses not only on stretching out the body, but it also gets you to strengthen your stability and balance. So let's get right into it. We're going to start today in a mountain pose at the top of the mat. So come up to a standing position, feet are close together. Let's have our arms by our sides with the palms facing out. And you can close your eyes here if that feels comfortable for you. We'll begin our practice with a couple of deep breaths on an inhale. Let's breathe in through the nose and exhale out through the mouth. Start to turn inwards and find your center and your core. Continue with your deep breathing for a few breaths, following your own pace and rhythm. And while doing so, think about your heels being planted and connected to the mat and through down to the ground. And feel this connection from your heels run through your entire body and all the way out through the crown of your head. Take one last deep breath here. And inhale, feel your body expand. And exhale. Let's bring our arms up overhead, and we're going to grab hold of our right wrist with our left hand. Then let's take our right foot and place it behind us on a 45-degree angle, so it might come off of the mat. What we're going to do here is we'll just tilt over to the left side, so we're gently pulling our right wrist over to the left. And you should feel this stretch along the right side body. Let's come back up to a neutral position, and we'll repeat that on the other side. So this time with our right hand, let's grab hold of our left wrist. We take the left foot, place it behind us on a 45-degree angle to the right, and then tilt your body over to the right side. And while we're here, you can think about opening up your chest to the ceiling and looking up. And let's come back to center. We'll do a couple of sun salutations to warm up our bodies. So on an inhale, let's reach up once again with the arms. And exhale, let's fold at the hips to come into a forward fold. On an inhale, let's take the hands, press them into the shins to come up to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest back down to the thighs. Let's have our hands meet the mat as we step back into a plank pose. We'll go down through our chaturanga. You can come either down to your knees here or keep the knees up. Let's bend at the elbows as we lower down, then slide the chest forward and up to either an upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale to release the chest back down. Tuck the toes, press into the hands and feet to send your hips up and back into a downward facing dog. Take a breath here. And then let's look towards the top of the mat, and then we walk the feet towards the hands. On an inhale, let's take the hands back to the shins, lift up to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest back down to the thighs. And then ground through the feet first. And on an inhale, we unhinge at the hips to come back up to standing position with arms coming up overhead. And then press palms together and bring them down through heart center. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, let's reach up with our arms. Exhale, we fold. Inhale, press up to a flat back, hands meet the shins. Exhale to release the chest. Hands meet the mat now. Let's step back to our plank pose. Lower down through your chaturanga. Slide the chest forward and up, either for upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale to release the chest back down. Then tuck the toes, press into the hands and feet to come back into your downward facing dog. Take a breath here in this downward facing dog. Feel free to pedal out the feet, move the hips side to side. Work into the spaces that you notice are feeling a little bit of tension right now. And then when you're ready, come to find stillness in this position. Let's look back up towards the top of the mat, then walk the feet to the hands. On an inhale, we press up again to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest to the thighs, and then ground through the feet first, and then on an inhale, come back up to your mountain pose with arms up overhead. Press palms together and bring them down through heart center. Wonderful. Now, let's transfer our weight over to our right foot so that we can lift our left foot off of the floor. We're taking the knee in towards the chest here. And you could either place your hands here on your hips, or you can raise them up overhead. Find whatever variation works for you today. And while we're here, think about planting that right heel and right foot into the mat. Keep that right leg straight and engage the core. We're still thinking about reaching out and elongating out through the crown of the head. From here, let's extend that left leg out in front of us. And you don't have to go too high here. I want you to make sure that your hips are square so that you're not leaning side to side or forward and back. And then try to bring your leg up as high as you can. And then from here, let's swing that left leg down. We sweep it towards the back of the mat and then bend into that right knee so that we can place that left foot on the ground. And then we swing the arms forward and up to come into our high lunge. Take a breath here. Think about sinking into those hips. Good, and now from here, let's take the hands to meet the thighs. Now let's open up the hips and chest to the long edge of the mat. We turn the toes outwards on a 45-degree angle so that they face the corners of the mat. Now let's take our arms up overhead, and on an exhale, let's bend at the knees and elbows to come into your goddess pose. So engage the core here. Make sure you're still thinking about elongating out through the crown of the head and sink into those hips. Good, now extend the legs. Let's bring the hands to the hips once again. We turn the heels out so that the toes face towards the long edge of the mat. Then on an inhale, let's elongate through the crown of the head. And then exhale, we fold down. Try to bring the crown of the head closer to the mat. And you can either take the hands to the mat here, walk them back so that the wrists are aligned with your heels, or you could take any other variation that you like. So you can either grab hold of your elbows or grab or interlace the fingers and press the hands up towards the ceiling. Find whatever works for you today. Now let's walk our hands towards that right foot for a stretch. And now let's take a couple of bends in that left knee. So on an exhale, we bend into the left knee. Inhale, we straighten. Do it a couple more times. Exhale to bend. Inhale to straighten. One more. Good. Now from here, we're going to turn the toes of the right foot so that they face the top of the mat. The left foot stays exactly where it is. The right hand either meets a block or meets the mat, and we take that left arm and extend it up to the sky. So we're coming into our Trikonasana, or our triangle pose. Good, and from here, let's bend into that right knee and we come to bring ourselves up so that arms are at shoulder height and our gaze is forward to come into our warrior two. You might need to adjust your stance here to make sure that your right knee is directly over your right ankle. Now from here, let's flip that front palm, send that hand towards the back of the mat for reverse warrior. Let's bring ourselves back up. And now we swing that left hand down towards the mat and around as we bring or lift that left heel off of the floor and square the hips once again to the top of the mat to come back into your high lunge. And see if you can sink a little bit deeper into your hips here. Now let's drop the hands to the mat and we're going to transfer our weight over to that right foot. So I'm taking a couple of hops to bring all my weight over onto the right foot. We're going to come into our warrior three. So lift that left leg so that it's parallel to the floor and the toes are facing towards the mat. Now, if you're working on your warrior three, you could stay here with the hands on the mat or on a block. Just make sure you're still engaging your core. Or you can either come up so that the hands are in a prayer pose or in a prayer position just over heart center, or you can send the arms back or in front of you. I'm a bit wobbly with my balance today, so I'm going to keep my hands down, but I'm still engaging that core and elongating out through the crown of the head. Find the variation that works for you today. And from here, everyone drop that right hand to either a block or the floor. And then we're going to open up the hips and the chest to the long edge of the mat as we bring that left arm into the sky for a half moon. So from here, I ideally would be looking up towards my hand, but again, I'm a little bit wobbly today, so I'm not going to turn my head. But again, you find the variation that works for you. And if you want to go a little bit further in this position, you can bend that left knee and bring that left hand back around to grab hold of the foot. And then press your chest outwards as you arch the spine and press the foot into that left hand. Good. Now everyone release. Drop that left hand back down to the mat. We're going to bend the knees in together so the hips are again square to the top of the mat. Then let's extend that left leg into the sky for a standing split. Open up the hip. On an exhale, we bend and bring the knees in together. Inhale, let's extend that left leg back up one more time. Bend the knees together on an exhale. Inhale to extend the leg back up. Now let's lower that left foot down to the ground. And on an inhale, let's press the hands once again into the shins to come up to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest towards the thighs. The hands meet the mat. Let's go through a vinyasa. So let's step the feet back into a plank position. Then bend at the elbows to lower yourself down through your chaturanga. Slide the chest forward and up to come into an upward facing dog or cobra. Release the chest back down and tuck the toes, press into the hands to press back into a downward facing dog. Take a breath here to reset. Find your center once again. Now let's look towards the top of the mat and walk the feet to the hands. On an inhale, we press the hands to the shin to come up to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest to the thighs. Ground through the feet first before coming up on an inhale with arms reaching up overhead. And then press palms together, bring them down through heart center. Wonderful. Take a breath. And then we're going to repeat that on the other side. So let's begin. Start by transferring the weight over to that left foot this time. And as you do so, engage the core and then slowly start to lift that right knee towards the chest. Hold it here. Think about pressing that left heel down to the mat and make sure that left leg is extended and straight as you elongate out through the crown of the head. Now bring the hands to the hips, or you can bring them up overhead. Let's extend that right leg out in front of us. Make sure your core is still engaged and that the hips are square here as you fight for height in that right leg. Now let's sweep that right leg towards the back of the mat and then bend into that left knee to place that right foot down on the mat to come into your high lunge. From here, let's open up the hips and chest to the long edge of the mat. We have our toes facing outwards on a 45-degree angle towards the corners of the mat. And on an inhale, let's reach up with our arms overhead. And exhale, we bend at the elbows and knees to come back into our goddess pose. From here, let's extend the legs once again. Hands meet the hips. We turn the heels out and bring the toes around so that they face the long edge of the mat once again. On an inhale, let's elongate through the spine and out through the crown of the head. And then on an exhale, let's fold over. Bring the crown of the head closer to the mat. And again, take whatever variation feels comfortable for your hands. And adjust the stance of your feet as you need. Now let's walk the hands over towards that left foot. Hold it for a breath here. And now let's take some bends into that right knee. So on an exhale, we bend into the right knee. And straighten on an inhale. 2 more times. Bend. And straighten. Bend. And straighten. From here, let's turn the toes of that left foot so that they face to the top of the mat. The left hand meets the mat or a block, and we bring that right arm up to the sky. Remember to elongate through both sides of your torso here while you're in your triangle pose. Good, and then let's bend into that left knee. Make sure that left knee is directly over that left ankle. Bring yourself up so that the arms are at shoulder height and you're coming into your warrior two. Now let's flip that left palm and send the left hand towards the back of the mat for a reverse warrior. Try to put your weight into your feet as opposed to allowing the weight to be in your right hand. Let's come back up. We swing our left or our right, or both arms, I guess, down and up as we lift up that back heel and come back into our high lunge on the left side. So see if you can sink a little bit deeper into your lunge this time. Now let's drop the hands to the mat and we'll transfer our weight over to that left foot. So I'm just going to readjust myself a bit on the mat so to make sure you can see me and that I don't get cut off. But make sure that your foot is grounded to the mat. Your left leg is straight as you lift that right leg into the sky so that it's parallel to the floor. And again, take whatever variation of warrior three you're working on. I'm going to see if I can balance a little bit on this side. But while we're here, think about planting that right or that left foot down to the mat as you engage your core and elongate out through the crown of the head. Good. Now everyone have their left hand either meet the mat or a block. We open up the chest and hips to the long edge of the mat as we bring that right arm up to the sky. And again, you could turn your head to face the ceiling here if you like. I don't have the balance in me today, so I'm not going to. And then if you're going a little bit further, bend into that right knee to grab hold of that right foot with that right hand. And then arch the spine as you press the chest forward and press that right foot into that hand. Good, now everyone release, bring that right hand down to the mat. On an exhale, we bend both knees, bring them together, square the hips towards the top of the mat once again. Then on an inhale, let's stretch that right leg into the sky, open up the hip. Let's do that 2 more times. Bend on an exhale. On an inhale, we extend. 1 more, bend and extend. Now let's drop that right foot down to meet the mat. On an inhale, let's press both hands together, or both hands to the shins to come up to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest to the thighs. Then the hands meet the mat. Let's step back to our plank position and go through a vinyasa. Bend at the elbows to lower down. Slide the chest forward and up for upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale to release the chest back down and press back into your downward facing dog. Take a breath here. Now look towards the top of the mat and walk the feet to the hands. On an inhale, we press up once again to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest down to the thighs. Now let's make sure that the big toes are together and the inner thighs are pressing together. On an inhale, we take a deep bend in the knee and swing the arms forward and up to come into our chair pose. So make sure the core is engaged. And think about there being a long line all the way from your hip bone, or hip bones, hip bones, out through the crown of the head. Good, and if you want to test your balance a little bit more, transfer the weight over to your right foot and see if you could take that left foot off of the mat. If you're doing this again, continue to think about pressing the inner thighs together. And then if you are trying it, release the left foot back down and try it on the other side. Now transfer the weight over to the left and bring that right foot off of the floor. Release that right foot back down. Now everyone engage the core, transfer the weight to the balls of the feet so you can lift your heels off of the mat. Hold it here for a couple of breaths. And now everyone release, drop the heels back down, straighten the legs, forward fold. Let's inhale 1 more time to a flat back. Exhale to release the chest to the thighs. Now ground through the feet, and then on an inhale, let's bring ourselves up to our mountain pose. Arms come up overhead, and then bring palms together and bring them down through heart center. Let's take 1 last deep releasing breath all together. Inhale through the nose. And exhale to release. That's all for the flow today. Thank you everyone for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that practice and feel a little bit stronger and more stabilized and balanced. Let me know for how this flow was for you in the comments. But otherwise, I hope to see you at the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day and bye for now.